What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Sports to the Wire. And those of you who are new to the show, I am your host, Rashid. On the other side of the fence there is Berick. And
Yo, what's up? What's up?
like, comment, subscribe it, share the show. Remember, sharing is caring. Sharing is always caring. All right, so Doc Rivers is actually dismissed as head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers after blowing a 3-2-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets. And I don't know how Berick actually feels about that. We didn't really go over any kind of prep for this, which is actually probably a good thing because that actually makes it for a much better show. But Berick, man, yo, take us off, baby. Take us off.
Yeah, man, Doc Rivers, man, he got kicked to the curb, man, and one would say that he deserved it, or that he did not deserve it. I mean, let's just look at this thing with a fine-tooth comb. I'm gonna get right up into it. Bottom line is, Doc Rivers is a great coach, and he won that championship back in '08 in Boston. All right, that's a great Boston Celtic team he had led. That's a great leader. He's a great man who looks out for his players. Not make sure we get that mixed up, but you blew a 3-1 lead, not just this season, but last season. The season before that.
That was in my bag of notes.
Okay? Yep. You can't actually expect a franchise, regardless, and this is the funny thing about it. I'll tell you something. Doc Rivers has won over 943 games in his 21-year career. 943 games. That puts him 10th on the all-time list. Okay? That man's accomplished a lot, along with a world championship. And not one player that's played for him has had anything negative to say about him. But you're coming to a point as an owner. You see the team that you're sharing the arena with. They're on the cusp of winning a championship. You were supposed to derail them. You go out and you get Kawhi Leonard. You trade for Mr. PG-13, Paul George, and assemble a nice group. Lou Williams, okay, Patrick Beverly, Harold, all them boys. And all of a sudden, you're up 3-1 against a team that doesn't have the same talent base that you have. And yet, somehow, some way, you let all 3 games fall underneath the wayside. And now you're being sent home. That's hard to explain when it happens multiple years. You're going to have to go in a different direction. I don't blame the Clippers for doing what they had to do. But I tell you something. Personally, I'm a Knicks fan. If they wanted to hire Doc Rivers, I'd be happy as hell because I know he's a good coach.
Well, it's definitely an upgrade. It's definitely an upgrade, regardless of his.
Anyway, he goes is an upgrade practically in his league. Okay, but the bottom line is with Clipperland, you assembled this team around this great coach. There's no excuses why you can't wind up in the finals. There's no excuses why you get sent home 3 years in a row after blowing a 3-1 lead. You can't do that and expect someone to retain you. I don't care how good you are. So I don't blame the Clippers for making the decision they had to make. You know why? I'm gonna reiterate myself. Because the year you were, you didn't have the greatest team. I mean, you had 3 different players before. You had Jordan, you had CP3, you had Blake Griffin, and that team did well, but they couldn't get past the second round. So you retooled the team to the point now you have higher expectations. Those expectations was to get to the finals and perhaps win it. But no matter what they did to assemble a team around you, you could not get into the next level. And now you blow these 3-1 leads multiple times. You have to go in a different direction now. So I don't disagree with the Clippers' decision to let him go.
All right. Now I wanted to ask you: does this actually play a factor of Patrick Beverly missing 18 games due to injury, and Montrezl Harrell almost 33 days due to different scenarios and the illness and things like that, and well, pretty much let's just say COVID, man.
COVID-19.
Yeah, COVID-19. I wanted to ask you that. The team initially didn't want to play in the bubble. So those two things I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody was as rejuvenated or gun-ho to start as LeBron James was, because he felt like his team had the best chance to win, considering the way things were going to be set up. I mean, you have to have every man on deck, and every man that was on deck during the season for the Clippers was obviously performing at a high level, including Lou Williams. But then, Lou Williams didn't shoot particularly well in this series against the Nuggets. He was out of shape. He was out of shape. I mean, hey, listen, you're supposed to stay in shape while you're not playing. Now, I understand game speed and practice speed is two different kind of speeds. I get that. But, running, getting on the treadmill, some high intensity type of workouts keep you fit in that sense. You usually have a basketball court near you somewhere, do suicides, try to keep yourself fit in that aspect. So I hear you, you're not in game speed, but it takes you about a game or two to get that back. That didn't happen for them. So I don't know if these guys missing games is what disrupted what they were supposed to do as far as getting to the next level. But you were up 3-1. So let's not make excuses for that. You were up 3-1. You had these teams on the floor. You had your foot planted on their neck.
Now, I wanted to ask you, do you actually just need clutch players? I mean, Doc Rivers had Paul Pierce. He was clutch. You have Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, not exactly clutch type players. Paul George, not exactly a clutch type player. And also, who assembled the team was Doc? Because one of the things we were talking about, I predicted the Clippers in our earlier shows to actually come out the West. But one of the things that actually scared me was, and I think I mentioned this on the show because I went back and listened, was that the point guard can actually come back and actually hurt them. If they don't have a good floor general, somebody to direct Paul George and CP3 into certain spots where they actually feel comfortable. Now you're asking Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to actually bring the ball up and get the offense into sets. I mean, not really their strengths in a sense though. So you think that actually plays a factor, like not having a good, like Stephen A. Smith would say, a quintessential point guard.
Yeah, but Lou Williams and Patrick Beverley are not the quintessential point guards.
Yeah, no. I'm saying you think that actually played a factor. Can Steve Ballmer look at that and say, hey, well, we were limited at the point guard, and
yeah, but you built a 3-1 lead. So whatever you were doing at the beginning of the series, you could have continued doing it beyond that point. What happened where you could not make an adjustment with the players you have? I mean, it does play a role to a certain degree, but you're not gone because you couldn't galvanize these players, or you could not get these players to perform, or even in a sense make in-game or halftime adjustments. You were able to do that prior, but your inability to close out is why you're going. So I mean, at the same time, you need the quintessential guard, and it does play a role in crunch time when Kawhi Leonard cannot take on the stress of bringing the ball to the floor. Wait for the offense.
I ran point guard. It's a when I was younger, it's stressful, man. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of decision making, quick decision making. Kawhi's not used to actually having the ball. I mean, never before in his career did you ask him to bring the ball up in his hand, ball up and set up different players. He's pretty much a scorer in a sense. Not to say that he can't actually pass, because he's a good passer, but he's not LeBron in a sense though.
No, that's not his game. He's not LeBron, you're right, but that's not his game. Kawhi Leonard, and you especially think about when he played for the Spurs. We keep forgetting about what he did for the Spurs.
Tony Parker,
he was a first-year player. This man came on the scene, but guess who his point guard was? Tony Parker.
Yeah.
Guess who the other running mate was? Ginobili. Tim Duncan, best power forward in the game ever. Okay? So, you think about that, he was able just to go out there and foul perform. What happened in Toronto? All right? You know what you had in Toronto. He was able to foul perform.
Yeah, you actually had 2 point guards in Fred VanVleet and
so,
Kyle Lowry.
So you're in a position where you're.
All right, so who's your spot? All right, so I think Doc Rivers. He was the president too, right? Not the president, but was he actually the GM? I think he was the general manager, right? Then he put this.
Yeah, he was playing a role in assembling the players he had.
So you don't know, Doc Rivers, that you actually need a point guard? Because that's what's actually saving the Lakers right now. Is actually a point guard. Really, in my opinion. Yeah. But that's the next segment. Yep, next segment. So he understands that you need a point guard. So that's on Doc right there. I mean, they brought in Reggie Jackson. What happened with Reggie Jackson?
Reggie Jackson is not necessarily a point guard either, even though he's a scoring guard, just like Westbrook is. I mean, all these guys out there are scoring guards. I think there's not enough pure point guards in the league now. Guys who just basically distribute the basketball. They know when to get to the basket. They know when to dish it. They know where the ball should go. The high percentage basketball play. They know all that. Rajon Rondo is for the Lakers. He's an experienced player. Guess what Rajon Rondo was before? He was on that Celtic team that won that championship, coached by who? Doc Rivers. So, yeah, a lot of Lakers are benefiting that situation. Again, Beverly and Lou Williams, they are pretty good guys in regards to.
Yeah, I actually think that Steve Ballmer was actually waiting to see what Denver would actually do against the Lakers. If they were going to be like, Jamal Murray and Jokic was going to be the next Shaq and Kobe, and I think if they ran over the Lakers, then I think Doc Rivers actually keeps his job.
You think so? You think so? After 3 consecutive years of failing to reach the finals with the team he has?
Yeah, I agree. But DeAndre Jordan and Blake had limitations to their games. And remember, when we talk about the deeper and deeper you go into these playoffs, the coaching actually gets better. The attention to detail on weaknesses of your game actually starts getting better, and they start exposing that.
Exactly, but that's why you Doc Rivers, baby. You are a mathematician in basketball.
He's supposed to be an offensive guru, right? That's Doc Rivers' reputation, and I was listening to Antoine Walker.
You hire point guard, just like in baseball, you hire catchers to be your manager. Why? Because they're mostly directed about giving the signs to the pitcher and things like that.
They're like an extension of the coach on the floor. Or an extension of the manager, right? In the dugout.
You need that. Exactly. You need that, and Doc Rivers is that guy. But then again, that falls into play why he's been terminated. Because of the simple fact that we know what you're capable of. We know what type of coach you are. And we gave you the best tools that we can provide you. And yet you were unable to deliver what we.
So you say, well, because there's rumors of him actually losing the locker room. They got some input out of Kawhi and Paul George, and I don't know.
Let me tell you something. There was bickering amongst the players, not the coach.
Yeah.
There was bickering amongst the players, and especially Harold. They had.
Oh yeah. One of the things that I wanted to actually bring up is that star treatment. Well, listen, let me tell you something, man. If you have a business, or even just like myself, I use myself as an example of my last job. Co-workers were getting angry because I was getting preferential treatment in a sense, though, and then everybody else wasn't. Well, the stars always, yes, they get preferential treatment because, listen, you don't have to tell Kawhi Leonard or CP3. I mean, like Chris Paul George. Once they start getting to this 7-time All-Star status, I mean, these guys come in, they put the work in. And that's just how it is, man. Somebody that actually can't duplicate what a person does. If you had like maybe 15 Kawhi Leonards on a roster, then he doesn't get the preferential treatment. But there's right now on that Clipper team, there's nobody that can actually duplicate what Kawhi Leonard does. So yeah, he's going to get preferential treatment. I mean, it's just how it is, man. Sorry.
Well, I mean, all being equal, you know, you have to deliver. All right, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, preferential treatment or not, did not show up.
And remember too, the Clippers gave up heaven and earth to get these two, or especially CP3. Yeah,
got them there.
I meant CP3. I'm sorry, Paul George. Come on, I know it's late, Rob. But come on.
Yeah, but you get them there, you get them right there, and boom, here it is. But you got to close out. Those guys that close out, they look terrible. they were terrible in that game. They were combined 7 to 36 on the field. Combined. These are your 2-star players. How does that happen? Why would that happen? Okay, well, you know what? That's not Doc Rivers' fault. You can't put the ball in the basket, but it is his fault if he cannot put the team in the best position to close out and finish the series. They should have won no later than Game 5. Not this year, the year before that, and so on and so on. You know, preferential treatment, yeah, it exists in any game in the sports, basketball, football, baseball.
Oh, any business, man. Any business.
They got to deliver.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You got to still. You can give me the red carpet. You can give me the best house, the best car. I still have to go out there and deliver. Okay? Now, Kawhi Leonard delivered for the Toronto Raptors last year. We know what he could do and still can do. But
all right, so there's a lot of talk on Kawhi being mute. I mean, he's not much of a vocal leader, and I think you really need that because it can't be the coach. I mean, this well, if it wasn't for the bubble, I mean, you have screaming fans. I mean, that's how I won a lot of my games, man. It's a lot of times you're playing with players, and let's say if the opposing defender makes like 4 or 5 threes in a row. Now I've seen guys they sulk their heads. You know, they kind of pretty much give up because the guy's hot. Well, you got to come in and say, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just keep playing. We'll get through it. Just keep contesting the shots. He's not going to be hot. You got to, you know, leaders, I don't know. Everybody wants Kawhi Leonard to be a leader. But to me, and I always say this, I mean, alpha males are born. Leaders are born. I don't think it's something that you really can develop, man. You know, you're talking about, you know, building new neural pathways and you know, either that or it just takes a while. You can't ask Kawhi next year to just, you know, do something totally different than what he
but you got to understand something. Leaders lead by different platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. Tim Duncan was very quiet, yet he got 5 championships. All right. Kawhi Leonard was quiet too. I recall him winning one of those championships with.
Yeah, but Tony, listen, you had Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili who were leaders too. It wasn't just.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, it's the same guy that won a championship last year in Toronto.
Yeah.
You lead by example. Men will follow you if you show them the ability to lead them.
Well, you got that all depends though. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's how somebody responds. You know, like some people respond to like, okay, wow, I can see this, and man, I can do this. But some people, you got to talk to them and keep them up. Like in a sense, like if you have LeBron or let's say Jamal Murray just going off for 50-something points, and that's another thing with Doc Rivers, man. Like, where's the adjustment? Where's the in-game adjustments? I was just watching this Miami Heat game and the Lakers game, but I seen Eric Spoelstra trying something new. Doc Rivers didn't make any type of really in-game adjustments, taking the ball out of Jamal Murray's hands and forcing somebody else to beat you. But
Jamal Murray's game was outside beyond the arc, and sometimes some of his 3-point shots were coming off of high roll screens and pick and rolls where it was hard to close out on them. Yeah, and he was simply hot. The man was just knocking shot down after shot.
Well, that's where defensive communication comes in, man. You gotta switch and just get a hand in his face, and then
it's kind of hard to stop him. You know what I'm saying? But you know, in regards to the whole leadership thing, you know, I mean, guys lead by different concepts. LeBron's a kind of fiery guy; he'll get in your face. You know, Tim Duncan or anyway. And I mentioned Tim Duncan a lot because he's won 5 chips. He's got 3 MVPs. I mean, the man accomplished a lot, yet he was not a fiery guy.
And that's the thing. Does Kawhi got to invite people over his house? So whatever LeBron does to get these people pumped up, get them galvanized.
Yeah, but you got to understand something, Rashid. These are personalities that's turned into professional athletes. They're not going to step out and do something. Let me tell you something. Not even switching the sport, but Eli Manning was about as quiet can be. But then he won 2 Super Bowls, and he beat Tom Brady twice. He wasn't a rah-rah guy, even when things were bad. You didn't see him talking to nobody. He stood on the sideline. What he did was he led by example. And Kawhi Leonard did that last year, and he won a championship. And no one thought the Toronto Raptors were going to win, but there he was leading everybody. So much so that the Clippers wanted him badly. The same team now where he underperformed in Game 7 that was supposed to push him to the Western Conference Finals. I don't disrespect that. For the most part, he's shown leadership throughout his career. Sometimes you just don't pull him out. But we're not going to be put too much on it, because you know what happens when things go down. It's not the player that goes, it's the coach that goes. Why? Because the coach is supposed to make those adjustments. But 3 years in a row, you have the same problem? Yo, listen, I gotta wash my hands, you know what I mean? I gotta move on now. I gotta find somebody else. And oh yeah, by the way, the people that they're considering to replace him is either Tyronn Lue or Sam Cassell.
All right, so what's next for yeah, all right, so that was my next question. Who's the next coach? So you answered that. And last question, what's next for Doc Rivers? Where do you actually foresee him going? And what's the right fit for Mr. Rivers? The next logical spot for him to be is in Philly. Why Philadelphia?
Because they can definitely use a mindset like him. And you got Ben Simmons, and you got that team assembled with Tobias Harris, and you figure with the kind of player that Ben Simmons is, he's one of the tallest point guards in the NBA.
Who has limitations to his game, and you got to put the right pieces around him.
But I do think Doc Rivers can straighten out Ben Simmons in such a way where they can run the kind of offense that suits him well. Because I think that.
Ben Simmons is young, man. I mean, listen, these players don't start becoming impact players to like about 27, 28 years old. Same thing with MJ. Was it 27 years old? I mean, because it takes them a while to actually refine their games. You're asking Ben Simmons to become a 38, 39% three-point shooter within a couple of years. That's not going to happen. So he's 23 years old now, so you're talking 3 years, 23, 24, maybe 25, 26. So it takes about, and then catching and shooting is another thing he needs to work on, not just pulling up off the dribble. That helps. But I think Philadelphia is bad. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to have to make a choice between Joel and Ben Simmons. My personal choice is preference would be go to Ben Simmons. He just puts more pressure on your defense. He collapses the defense, and he can get the ball out to open shooters. And it's just it just depends. But Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons together, unless Joel Embiid wants to be Brook Lopez.
Listen. I think right now it hasn't worked entirely because you don't have the entire team. You had Butler on that team, 2 years ago. Butler wanted to leave. He wanted to do his own thing in Miami, and guess what? It's working out well. When you have Butler and that squad was pretty solid. But I think right now, with the way that Doc Rivers can lead a team and galvanize a team, I think Philly will be a good fit. Right now, Philly's looking at him and looking at D'Antoni. D'Antoni, I don't know why this man keeps getting jobs when he doesn't have any success in the postseason. But he can help get it.
If Ben Simmons can shoot, yeah, it helps, man. But now I wouldn't say, but I would say D'Antoni to New Orleans, and I would say Philadelphia, Doc Rivers, but they got to make a choice between Joel Embiid and because it looks like Joel Embiid is not comfortable playing outside. He doesn't want to be a catch and shoot player.
Well, I mean, as a big, it's a good addition to be able to shoot the rock from the perimeter.
Yeah, but that's not his strength. Right now, that's not his strength. I mean, he's only like 32%.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, if he hits a couple of shots in a row and then he gets in the basket, gets worked down in the post, that's multi-talented, along with what Ben Simmons is able to do with the rock. I think with Doc Rivers' leadership, man, I think they need to hire him, not D'Antoni. Like you said, you're right. Let D'Antoni go to New Orleans. Yeah. That might fit him over there.
At least Lonzo can shoot. Yeah. Lonzo Ball can shoot. Yeah. All right.
That's going to have to be worked on, bro. Hey, that's going to be worked on. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, man, again, I think the Clippers made the right decision moving on.
All right, we'll wrap this up. Definitely comment, subscribe, like, and definitely share the video. Sharing is caring, and when you share, the universe definitely shares back with you. Peace.
Peace.